So let's talk about the concept of manspreading. It was coined between the early 2000s and mid 2010s, where it was this idea on the New York City subway where you're having the train car, the seats are actually facing inward or to the side. You just know that there's limited space. And the concept of manspreading was actually sitting where most men were sitting with their legs out. And as a result, they would actually take up 3 individual seats. And at the time, it was quite humorous, but also quite insensitive because of the fact that it took up 2 open spaces that people could sit in. But what I find to be really particularly useful in this concept is how it actually opens up the hip, because the way that our hip socket is actually oriented is that you have the socket and then you have your femur, you have the head of the femur, and that's where we're actually having a freedom of motion. What's really interesting is that not only is it going to be angled like this, but you are also going to be having a little bit of anatomical differences in regards to torsion of the head of the femur, the neck of the femur, which will actually change up the position of your legs. And so oftentimes if you're sitting with your legs out in front of you, the torso will come in contact with the thighs, and as you're sitting and as you start to get tired, you're going to have a tendency to round. And if your body doesn't prefer flexion, this could actually be a relatively painful way to sit. And so as a result, what you'll often have to do is try to pull yourself up like this. Now, this might be a little bit more comfortable, but it also requires a little bit more energy. You're gonna have to use your hip flexors. You're gonna have to use your back extensors to sit yourself up like this. Now, using the term manspreading, which I describe to the clients that I work with, is this idea of actually you're moving your feet out a little bit wider, your toes will be facing straight ahead, maybe slightly outwards, maybe between 1 and 11 o'clock, no wider than that. And from here, you actually push your knees out into that same manspreading position that I was talking about on the New York City subway. And what that does is a few things. Number one, it actually opens up your hip, so it actually allows you to have a nice gentle stretch here. It's not very often that we sit in this position, and when we do squats and other activities, our knees might actually have a tendency to cave in, and this is where things start to become problematic. But then also number two, because your knees are separated, you have a little bit more of an opportunity to round forward, but it's rounding forward at the level of the hip, and your torso is actually clearing your thigh, and you can actually just sit and hang out here with your back nice and flat, and it's exceptionally helpful if you are what we call flexion intolerant. So manspreading allows you to lean forward a little bit if you start to get tired without having to hold yourself up, because this can actually be an energy consuming position. So the next time that you are experiencing a little discomfort, the idea of manspreading, having the knees out, leaning forward, having weight in your sit bones can actually help out and use less energy compared to having your feet together and pulling your chest upright.